about this. Good evening and welcome to Mindful Live 218. I am your host Nathan Springer. Thank you for being here. This is the 3rd of the 5th. It's the 3rd of May 2023 and it's a Wednesday. And on Wednesday we speak about Tobago. We talk Tobago issues. It's Tobago Day. We are from, well, at least I Nathan Springer. I have the privilege of being from the Twin Island Republic, the beautiful paradise Twin Island Republic. Paradise in terms of our physical geographic properties, not in terms of necessarily our political ability, but paradise nonetheless, the Twin Island Paradise Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. And Tobago is no less a part of the Twin Isle. So we speak about Tobago on Wednesday. Joe, you make me pause for that. From a biblical perspective, it's flat. That's not true. That's misinterpretation of Bible. Many people who say such things have no idea what the original Greek said or the original Aramaic, and they're talking nonsense. Be careful. Raj says, will they ever stop thieving money and build a bridge from Trinidad to Tobago? I doubt it. Paradise because the beach is practically free everywhere. Eudoxy says the secretary with responsibility was not informed by the office, and that's what caused the drama. Yes, Eudoxy, and that's actually part of the questions, because I have heard in Trinidad and Tobago, and for those who may be joining in on YouTube and are not sure what we were talking about, we're talking about the issue about licensing in Tobago. And over was it about 2 or 3 weeks ago, the licensing division went across to Tobago. And I mean, went across to Tobago makes it sound a certain way, because there are some licensing officers from Tobago, but some licensing officers from Trinidad went across to Tobago, did not inform the THA of their actions, and started to issue traffic violation tickets over there in Tobago. And the chief secretary, along with many other Tobagonians, came up and said that this was oppressive. And many people thought that the chief secretary was out of place. How dare he question the law enforcement authorities in Trinidad and Tobago? But the thing is, I found, and I said it since back then, you could go back there and see me. Ooh, battery is low already. You could go back there then and see me saying it back then too. I didn't think that the man was out of place. I did not think that the man was out of place, because he is a representative for the people. And if the people that he represents are saying that they feel oppressed by an action, properly representing them is to let that be known, is it not? So I didn't find he was out of place. And then, as time would reveal it, he was even more in place than some would have been saying. Some people thought that he should not have said that, because the licensing have the authority to do such things and they have no need to inform him. I saw some people insulting the Tobagonians like that how dare you even expect that the licensing division need to inform you before they do an exercise? Who do you think you are? Eudoxy says, remember, the key point here is that the Tobago office invited the Trinidad officer without informing the secretary. The secretary needs to take control. Well, that be it as it may, I'm talking about the incident that was in the public view. I'm talking about the incident that was in the public view. The incident in the public view was the licensing officers went to Tobago, started doing actions that the THA did not know of and did not approve of. And when the THA questioned them, they basically insulted the THA. The general consensus of the transport commissioner back then sounded like, and especially the Trinidad politicians, the central government, basically said that you were out of place to even make this a question. How dare you question? That was the sentiment that was being given off. If you listened to the PNM Stronghold station, the I-95, and be it, I like to listen on I-95 too, but it is a PNM Stronghold station. You listen to I-95 and they were lambasting the guys. How dare Saltfish try and jump up like this? Saltfish is out of place. But was he? That's the question. Was he indeed? Infrastructure Secretary, Transport Minister to discuss licensing operations in Tobago. Well, look at that. Look at that. All of a sudden now they know how to discuss before. Now they know how to discuss before. UWC says it's no more an issue. Well, it's no more an issue because the transport minister apparently now has understood the proper way to do these things. The transport minister has agreed to meet with the infrastructure secretary so that they can actually coordinate how these things happen. And that makes sense. THA Secretary of Infrastructure, Quarries and Urban Development Trevor James and Transport Minister Rohan Sinanan have agreed to meet to discuss the operations of the licensing division in Tobago. James, in a brief WhatsApp response to Newsday on Tuesday, confirmed they would meet virtually at a date to be decided. He gave no further details. Last month, James and Sinanan clashed over a joint road traffic enforcement and education exercise, which was carried out on the island from April 13th to 19th. RL says, what was the goal of this operation? Just to get more tickets? Well, yes, that was the goal of the operation. To get more money for the government. UWC says the minister playing politics. How is the minister playing politics? Playing politics to whom? At the end of the day, does Rohan inform the commissioner when to do roadblocks? Well, I would suppose not. But I would suppose that the minister does actually have some say in how those things are carried out. And bear in mind, UWC, what is going on right now, the discussion that is being had here, has to do with who has the authority to direct these things. So, if you ask, does the commissioner inform the minister? Maybe in terms of the legal requirements, he has to. Because if it is that the THA must be informed, then maybe the proper channels for informing such things may be through the ministry. That may be it. I don't know. I do not know if he has to inform him. But they are discussing it now. The THA has the authority for Tobago because we have administrative control, I suppose you mean there. Yes, and what's the point? I don't understand what's the point you're trying to make here exactly, UWC. What are you trying? What are you arguing against here? Like, what are you arguing against? The minister initially did not want the meeting. The PNM and their followers acted like the THA was out of place to demand such a meeting and demand to be put in such a place. But now it seems like since the heavy ruler came out and said that actually the THA Act says that this is under THA control, all of a sudden people are dialing back. And UWC, something is seeming a bit strange to me. You are saying the argument here was about the informing and the channels of inform, but that's not actually what was happening. I remember last week you were questioning whether the heavy ruler was right, whether Ho Choi Charles was right. But now it seems all of a sudden that question has been settled. That was a question up till last week, whether it indeed was so that licensing was under the administrative control of the THA. That was a question. Don't pretend now like all of a sudden all of us knew this. Everyone did not know this. Everyone was questioning it up until last week when Mr. Charles came out and said so. And even after he said so, people were questioning, is he right? Is he right? So let's not gaslight each other here. That was the question. We were aware of the issue is the law. Well, that is exactly what he came out. We're going to talk about the law just now, UWC. We're going to talk about the law. Because that's exactly what he spoke about. THA Minority Leader queries Farley's motion on Government of Tobago. Tobago House of Assembly Chief Secretary Farley Augustine's recent presentation of a motion on a Government of Tobago has been described by the PNM as an attempt to pick a fight with central government to divide the Twin Islands state. Questions were raised by THA PNM leader Joel Morris, who disputed the motion presented by Augustine in THA's legislature last Thursday. The motion called for the government of Tobago to take full responsibility and authority for the management of all matters concerning the island's environment. Augustine said the motion was bigger than the environment and there would be many more motions like it. He cited excerpts from the THA Act and said there are some who trying to mislead in misinterpreting what the act actually says. Augustine said his team never argued that the central government doesn't have a right to make law or to establish policy where none exists currently in Tobago. What we've contended is that the execution of any such policy, once it's related to the 5th schedule, must be by THA, he explained. You'd see that's why you could jump up inside of the live and talk. Hey, Empress Roni. And yes, you are right. The national law takes precedence. Yes, the act is for policy and administrative direction. Correct. But administrative direction has to do with also has to do with directing roadblocks, not so? Wouldn't that be an administrative direction? And the central government having overarching power is not the same as having micromanagement power. The central government does not have micromanagement power. The central government does not have the micromanagement power. And that is basically the questions that are being risen here. Now, let's go to the Tobago House of Assembly Act. I pulled up the act because it's not that long and it's not that difficult to see some of these things. Now, in part 25, we go to part 2, 25 of the which relates to the functions of the assembly. 25. And this is the law, this is the THA Act. Functions of the assembly. Without prejudice to section 75(1) of the Constitution, the assembly shall in relation to Tobago be responsible for formulation and implementation of policy in respect of the matters set out in the 5th schedule. Listen to the language there. The THA is responsible for formulation and implementation of policy in respect of matters set out in the 5th schedule. However, what about the national law if people don't pay? Yes, I am going to get to that positive relation. Of course, it would be incomplete if I talk about the 5th schedule and I don't mention what is in the 5th schedule. Of course, I'm going to get to that. The thing is, Eudoxy, I think a lot of those questions would be answered in court. That's just the reality of how those things go. If you don't pay, the question of what would happen would be answered in court. And maybe you could not pay, and when it reaches the end of the court matter, you recognize you didn't have to pay, and that's grand you in that case. But then you could not pay, and then you go to court, and then it doesn't turn out in your favor. So use that information as you mean. But yes, the 5th schedule. I'm going to go down to that because this outlines all that is under the purview of the assembly. Areas of responsibility of the assembly. Finance, that is to say the collection of revenue, state lands, land and marine parks, museums, archives, historical sites and historical buildings, public buildings and the maintenance of the residence of the President and the Prime Minister, tourism, sports, culture and the arts, community development, cooperatives, agriculture, fisheries, food production, forestry, town and country planning. 16. Infrastructure, including air and sea transportation, wharves and airports and public utilities. 17. Telecommunications. 18. Highway and roads. 19, industrial development, the environment, customs and excise, licensing. That's 22. Let me read that again. 22, licensing. Well, you could, very likely, if you were to fight that matter, it would be what they call that, constitutional review, is it they call it, to see if the ticket issued was legal, if it was issued legally, if it was, because it's possible that in the procedure of issuing the ticket it was illegally done. So like there was a constitutional a question on the Constitution, the word is just slipping my mind right now. For example, on the question of whether police could shut down thefts, that I remember I was reading, we spoke about that case last year, and it was realized that actually the police don't have the ability to just go and shut down thefts like that, because someone carried them to court. After the police went and shut down their theft, someone carried them to court and realized actually what the police did was illegal. So they got that legal recourse there. TH responsible for the marine parks, well, look thing. So then they were obligated to inform the THA before executing their duties. Well, it would seem so. Like, to me, on the question of paying the tickets, yes, I will continue positive radiation. And the question of paying the tickets, to me, that's something that is best answered in a collectivist manner. Now, I am not a big fan of collectivism, but I think that's the solution to that. Allow Tobago to decide whether Tobago is going to pay that batch of tickets, so that the answer so that, well, you could come to our classes, Kevin. I teach English. We do offer English. So you threw off my whole chain of thought there. So that, yes, so that the answer to whether they pay the ticket or not comes from the top. So let it be that the chief secretary says that we are determining that the Tobagonians don't pay those tickets. That's what I would clamor for. If I was a Tobagonian and I got a ticket, that's what I would be pushing for. I want an answer to come from the top. From the top. Y'all are arguing about the legality of this. It's the cockroaches in the ring fighting. Sorry, I'm saying that wrong. The chickens are in the ring fighting. We are the cockroaches. You know, we are trying not to be killed in the corner with these tickets and stuff. So please, Mr. Big Chicken, let us know what we should do on a full island-wide basis. That's the angle I think I would go for if I was a Tobagonian. Trying to get, you see, you would want the protection, because you don't want to be the one standing out there alone not paying a ticket, and then the licensing division decides to press the charges or whatever, and they push the legal matter, and you're just there standing alone. You don't want to be that one. THA probably needs subsidize some of these flights as an incentive to attempt to bring more flights. Bro, I disagree. I think the THA should not be spending much more money on much more other things. Like, the THA is already kind of maximum spending. They're kind of already maximum spending. And how do you presume that, like, how would you want that to work, RL? As in, how does the benefit of the THA subsidizing the flights work? As in cheaper flights? As in allowing $20 flights to Tobago? That's the direction you think? Like, if the THA subsidizes the flight, then what? What's the benefit there? How do you see that benefiting? For me, I think investing more in tourism is a waste. Wow. That's a strong statement. That's a strong statement. And kind of ironic, looking at my other article I have pulled up here. Good time to pull up this article. THA, $45,000 salary for Tobago Tourism Chairman. Tobago Tourism Agency Limited Executive Chairman Alicia Edwards is being paid a salary of $45,000 a month. THA Secretary of Tourism, Culture, Antiquities and Transportation Tasha Burris has revealed currently the monthly remuneration of the Executive Chairman is a salary of $45,000, which was the salary paid to the previous CEO, she said during Thursday's plenary sitting in the Assembly Legislature Scarborough. So yeah, Reynis McKenzie says, I think there's a thin line between the responsibilities of the THA and the law. Yes, there's a very, very thin line, Reynis McKenzie, and that's the problem, see. And I think some of these thin lines need to be stepped over and allow the courts to actually get a clear outlining of where these lines are leading. Just to finish the laws, after licensing the responsibility of the THA, we have health services, library services, education including curriculum. Let me pause. Wheel that. Pull that back. Education including curriculum. Does the THA set a unique curriculum for Tobago? Because they have that ability. And you see, well, why don't they? Tobago clamors for autonomy, and this is something I think could really help with that autonomy. I don't like the I don't understand trying to. What you mean take I don't understand these things. Let me tell you why I don't understand these things, because there's another one I don't understand with this. Recently there was an article that came up where the Ministry of Digital Transformation you all know we have a Ministry of Digital Transformation in Trinidad and Tobago. And that ministry was saying that they needed legislation. They lacked the correct legislation to, really outline what they have to do. This was from about a week ago. Let me just take a quick read of this article and I'll tell you all why I don't like these things. Ministry, legislative change needed for digital transformation. Officials at the Ministry of Digital Transformation said legislative reform might be needed to address challenges with government transactions and services. How long were they planning on entering governance? Just now positive when I get through some of these stories. Nathan, this is a brand new administration. The person in this administration are very new. I know they are a new administration. Hear what I'm saying. How long were they planning to enter into that position? When they campaigned on saying, we will produce a local education curriculum, did they not have the idea in mind what they were going to do? It was just that idea. Well, you see, Miss Akila, then what you're telling Tobagonians is that they bought cat in bag. They listened to grand ideas, and these people had no idea how to implement the grand ideas. Is that what you're saying? Because to me, when you promise something on the campaign trail, and I know the PDP under their previous leader was specialists at this. You're coming in steamy tonight. All right. The PDP under their previous leader was specialists at this. Well, under their current leader was specialists at this, promising things that were impossible. But I don't like that. And I don't think that's a positive thing. If you say that you're going to produce a local curriculum, then what's the difficulty in producing a local curriculum? Did you not brainstorm this before you push the idea out there? Well then how do we know that a local curriculum would be a good thing? You didn't even think this through enough. And that's the same problem I have with the Ministry of Digital Transformation. How can you tell me that our government creates a Ministry of Digital Transformation? The ministry has been in existence. The ministry has been in existence for 3 years plus now. Or 2 years plus now. I'm not sure how long they created that ministry. And since the creation of the ministry, you're telling me you're only now realizing that there may be some legislation required to really do this digital transformation business. Well then, shouldn't it have been that the government did the legislation, and after they did the legislation, then they create the ministry? Eudoxy says you'll be called a hater, Nathan. When you call them out, you are against progress. Well, if I be called a hater, I be called a hater, but I am not a hater. I do not hate people. So, in my opinion, it was fair to campaign on the idea it'll take time. You see, that's such a cop-out. That's such a cop-out, Miss Akila, because that would always be an excuse. How long is the time? And this is the dishonest part. You cannot tell people it will take time unless you give them a time span. Telling people it will take time and leaving time as a vague entity up in the middle of the air is dishonest. When you say it'll take time, how much time it will take? What do you need the time for? Okay, you're looking to create a local Tobagonian syllabus and curriculum. Okay, how are you doing this? When did you start? What was the process? What was the step-by-step process? Who was in charge of this project? Or was it just rum shop promises that you sent out to Tobagonians? And now people are attempting to defend it like if this made sense. And to me, I apologize if it sounds as like a Trini hater to the Tobagonians, but to me, as a Trini, looking in as a Trini, I could try positive. I could but try. Looking in as a Trini, it seems a bit strange that Tobago clamors for more autonomy when they haven't fully used up the autonomy that they have already. It's like your child shares a room with their sibling, and the bed they have in there is nasty, dirty, untidy constantly. But they're telling you, I need a bigger room and then I will keep it better. It doesn't really work like that. All right, let's see to pull in positive radiation there and hear what you got to say. Yeah, to me, positive. I'm sure you may have something to say on that, but to me, that doesn't seem like a legitimate thing.
A lot of things to say.
All right, positive. I'm sure you do. Jump in. Let me hear you.
Good. I'm kind of disappointed you wasn't able to complete all the items in the fifth schedule, but as time will permit, you'll be able to dig further into that as we go forward. I think what we are missing here is you can't just go into a system like that and just make changes. Remember, if I am currently sitting in this administration and I sign 6-year contracts or 7-year contracts, as the administration changes, that does not mean that I have the ability to cancel all the contracts and just do things over again. Remember, we're looking into a system where things will flawed for decades.
But wait, positive. Wait. Pause. Positive. Pause. I don't want you to explain where I'm not asking. Let's deal with the curriculum. The curriculum has no previous contract. You could say that the previous administration did nothing. Let's deal with the curriculum issue. Show me in this issue how you excuse that.
Oh, I would address that. That's one of the areas personally I am disappointed in as well, because we have been hearing talk about Tobago's century curriculum. We have not been seeing the meetings about it. We have just been hearing about it, and we actually not seeing it as it pertains to the curriculum issue. I will deal with issues individually because there are some I would agree and some I would disagree. As it pertains to the curriculum issue, I think there's not been working on it, and I also want to believe that there are so many issues in the education system that the changing curriculum has fallen down or has been a list of priority, because gratuity is a problem, school maintenance is a problem, proper staffing for the teachers is a problem, school safety is a problem. So I think based on that, the issue of curriculum has fallen very low on the order of precedence, should I say.
Let me tell you why I disagree with that, and I saw when Miss Akila said it before and why I disagree with that. We have several different ministries, several different secretaries, several different administrators and sections in governance in a country. The reason for that is so that when we have a minister that is focused on social development, we could have a minister focused on national security. I remember making this point when we spoke about the Ministry of National Security. And I really don't like when I hear the Ministry of National Security overly harping, and listen what I'm saying, overly harping on the social issues, because that's not your job. Your job is national security. Yes, we understand social issues affect national security. That's why we have a Ministry of Social Development. Allow that ministry to do its job. So to tell me that the Ministry of Social Development cannot do its job because the Ministry of National Security has more important issues to do, I don't buy that. I don't buy that. Appoint someone in charge of seeing about the curriculum and let them do that job. That has nothing to do with the building falling down and the roads that need paving. No. Don't give me that. If you're telling me that you are unable to, if you just now, I'm nearly finished. When I'm finished, you'll go. When I'm finished, you'll go. When I'm finished. If you're telling me that you're unable to balance the multiple directions that your attention need to be pulled in, then you're telling me that you're unable to govern, because that's the nature of governance. You have multiple issues that you all need to take care of.
Can I go ahead now?
Yeah.
Lovely. So, and I still, in my view, would kick against it simply because we have all these units here and they take direction or instructions through the administrator. But if you give me an instruction, and we deal with public servants and the public service here, because they are public servants and not contractual positions. And we spoke extensively with Empress, my good friend, concerning how it operates and how we treat with public servants and this laissez-faire culture. So if I have a public servant assigned to do that specific, I don't get the reports on it. I don't see the progress as secretary. I can't fire the individual. The most I can do is make a reference to it and have the chief administrator deal with us. And if the chief administrator chooses not to do it, the whole system is going to fall down. So I still would say I understand the importance of it. We are not seeing the tangible elements of it. But I think everybody in the system needs to take responsibility for their actions and not just blame the politician. I've been very on this particular. Well, if I have a job and I'm responsible.
Positive, you know, we regularly speak about this. I don't disagree with you on the side of many people, especially in the Trinidadian context, over blaming politicians for issues. I do not disagree with that. But I think, you see, my view of politics, I don't like politicians getting into everyone's nitty-gritty fine business. I like politicians to stay where they belong. And I think, as you regularly talk about positive relation, where the THA belongs is outlined in that bit of legislation, in that act. So I think the THA should be trying to full the entire expanse of that act. Pull it as quickly as possible. Take up every bit of air. Take up all the air inside of there. What's that, sir?
Really? This is the first administration that has been making a very valid attempt to do it. When this current act was instituted, this act was piloted by Mr. Homeschooling Charles. And he never got the opportunity to serve or to actually lead the THA with the act that he piloted. So this is the first administration, and I think I need to take some blows here. I didn't start this conversation in the right direction. Firstly, I need to congratulate the chief on taking this licensing issue and creating a national issue on it, and allowing all Trinbagonians to consider the TH Act, to have them. I have been saying in this live many times to read the TH Act, and I'm glad that you publicly read it this afternoon. So our viewership and listenership, which is global, should I say, had to have the opportunity to begin to hear some of the content of it. Moving on from that, this is the first administration that literally have been trying to stretch this act to its limits. And automatically they're going to receive kickback. But there are a number of things that is plentiful, because as a let's put myself in the position as Minister of Education. I give you instruction to execute our duty. You don't do it, I can't do nothing. What's going to happen? You're going to say, you're spiting me, and any other instruction I give, I'm giving you a static. And we know you don't discipline public servants, just so. So I understand your point, and yes, whoever the individual is or responsible for that Tobago-centric curriculum, you have to take some blows. Be big man, come and take your blows, take your few lashes and fix.
Right. Well said. Well said. And the reason I'm saying that is I think I disagree where some people are saying like the curriculum isn't as big a thing. I think if Tobago is serious about autonomy, and if I'm understanding what many Tobagonians talk about, and they talk about the different culture, the different history of Tobago, etc., I think the curriculum is an extremely important thing. Curriculum allows you to set up the next generation. The curriculum shapes the entire brain and mindset of the next generation. Because we have public schools, that's what public schools do. I mean, love it or hate it, that's what public schools do. They shape the brain of the next generation, the mind of the next generation. You all have the ability in Tobago to do it for yourself. Hey, Krimak, good night. You'll have the ability to do it for yourself. And I think you should be grabbing onto that. Ziza, you had something to say. I saw you said you were 2 wines in it. You made me double think if to accept that. You made me double think if to accept that. But let me hear you, Ziza. What you have to say there?
I agree with what you're generally saying about Tobago, autonomy, and so on. I just want to, move. I know we're talking about education, we're talking about licensing officers. I have very strong views about licensing officers, as we all know. I don't think they're citizens. I think they live in a different pothole in this country. That is a different story altogether. But talking about this administration, when did they actually appoint a Secretary of Health? Constitute the Tobago Regional Health Authority Board. Is that still an issue? I think it's almost 2 years in. And
didn't they appoint the former TOP lady, the lawyer lady? Isn't she the head of that right now?
Is that the lady lives in the clouds, or I'm not sure which one it is, but
she's the one who tells Tobagonians supervising in the water.
I remember
that might be the one.
But wait, I always wondered, does work? Vising is not just like saline water. Like vising gonna be.
Who knows? Nevertheless, I actually used to work in that sector in Tobago, and I could tell you there's a stark difference from that in Trinidad. I mean, there are things that go on there. I mean, I wouldn't say it publicly here, obviously, but there are things that go down there. It would scare the shit. Oh, sorry. It would scare the stuff out there. You know what I mean?
No, I don't know what you mean.
Okay, most Tobagonians don't realize. Well, actually, most Tobagonians are actually much wiser than those that work in the hospitals there. I'm not gonna say where I was working.
No. Don't incriminate yourself.
Obviously, but I have seen clients come to the hospital and they would say categorically, "I would rather die at home than come here." And then when having first-hand seen what I've seen, I understand what they mean. The Tobago Regional Health Authority, it seems almost like a dead horse to begin with. They basically go begging other regional health authorities to handle their cases. The only thing that they could provide is maybe a helicopter if they need one. Where to even start with all the problems there? I mean, it's strange. It's a very strange, and you all know this. If you're in Tobago, you know this.
So what's the problem with it? You have any idea? What exactly is the problem with it?
The problem is nepotism, lack of leadership, corruption.
You see that nepotism word? That nepotism word, like, as I learn more and more about Tobago, listen, every Tobago day, I learn Tobago. And Tobago seems like a real nepotism nest boy.
Oh yes. If you don't get into the right clique, there's no future there. There is no future. And I mean, you guys don't know me, but I'm an anti-clique person. I'm a purist when it comes to things like care, healthcare and things. But when I went there, it opened up my eyes to a whole new type of medicine called political medicine, where you politically do the right thing or seem to do the right thing when you're really doing not one, I have
a question though.
Talk to me.
Do you mind sharing the timeline that you was a part of the system over here? Just asking for information's sake.
I was there about probably a year. Probably all of 2022, yeah. 2022.
So it was under current administration, in case you're wondering, positive. It was under current positive. You are telling me that the administration is changing and implementing changes, but I am telling you
listen, all they're doing is just shuffling the same deck of cards, but if your whole deck is a bunch of jokers, you're just gonna pull a joker, right? Because nothing changed. And I did my research and thing while I was there because I had to, you had to play the political game, you had to know who your opponents are. And then you realize that they're all basically just a bunch of cronies, Nobody really cares about their own people. I've seen it. It's disgusting. Anyways, I'm very emotional about the issue. I mean, I wanted to lead a campaign to change things, but I just, in the end, just close up and run because there's nothing else you could do.
Reynis McKenzie, I see you jumping. I've never heard from you before. What you have to input there?
That situation they're speaking. What grabbed my attention was the whole fact of Tobago administration. Somehow, administration, logistics, basic stuff of governance, they ain't get it. I did say we ain't get it right. Right? We ain't get it right. And as far as I see that we do have like the autonomy and all this. It is there. It is right blatant. The only thing I see in that whole constitution that they said that we're not responsible for was national security. Right? And with that said, national security is the only thing we can't touch, which is ports of entry and XYZ, fire service, whatever. Right? If we can't do that, everything else, if Tobago wanted to make it Tobago-centric, they have the ability to do it, or they have the approval to do it.
Do they really?
But sorry to cut you.
Do they really? I mean, you're saying that they have the ability. How? I mean, are there people there to lead? Are there people there who can fill these technical?
Ziza and Reynis, I think you're talking about two different abilities. Reynis, I think, is saying that they have the legal ability to do it, but Ziza is kind of saying it seems like they don't have the technical. I wanted to get the best word, the technical ability. Nathan, please read the 6th and 7th schedule in that act. What does the sixth schedule matters, for which the assembly shall not be responsible, is the 6th schedule. The president, national security, foreign affairs, civil aviation, meteorology, immigration, legal affairs including the registration of legal documents, judiciary, auditor general, ombudsman, service commissions. Ooh, as you say service commissions, then that might be very interesting. Tobago might be getting some more autonomy come next year. You all heard that the Prime Minister is talking about doing away with the service commissions?
Oh yes, yeah.
That might be a good thing for Tobago. Because if he does away with the service commissions, I think Tobago could probably make a lunge there, make an appeal there to maybe get some of some of the control of those avenues under their purview.
But my question is, right? If you want the control, or you want to put on the big hats and the big boots and thing, what different thing you're gonna do? I mean, you have what you have. You have an island. You have some well-trained people. You have some, you have technocrats there. But how are you going to effectively use them? Most of the Tobagonians that are very successful, very skillful in technical aspect, they leave. They're gone. I know of one person in particular, got a scholarship from Tobago, got sponsored to come to Trinidad and do all this training or whatever. Day one, started in Tobago. So worked there one day, and then left. Jumped on a plane going to Ireland. Never hear from him again.
But Ziza,
he was the promised one. He was, and the thing is, he was the one that was supposed to come there and change things. And we spoke about this extensively while he was here in Trinidad. You're gonna go there, you're gonna do this, you're gonna make a big change. And there was so much. For example, I think that the problem, it was a more urological issue, I suppose. But he was there to go there and fix this thing, and it's a big problem. It's a real big problem. I see so much.
Those things are feedback loops. It's a feedback loop where the best ones, they look at the system as it stands, and that system frustrates them, so they leave. And you keep losing the best ones, which leaves you without the best ones, and then the system keeps running in a hamstrung way.
So essentially, your pool of people, your technical people, are just basically people who too dumb to leave, or they're staying there for nothing. It's a real brain drain, because if you don't have the right environment for these technical people to grow in and to make things happen, the politicians need to get out of the way, stop interfering with important aspects like teaching and education and health. Get out of it. There's no need for politics in education and health. Just leave it. Let the technocrats run it.
Yeah, you're talking my language there, Ziza, where I say, you're next, Rooney, you're next. Where I always say for the politicians to get out. That's my main thing. I think one of the main issues we have is the politicians need to get out. And if the politicians get out, you'd see so much better. Things are being done so much better. And Tobago seems to be especially plagued with the problem of politicians and politics involved in many areas of your life, being that Tobago is mostly employed by the THE.
I can explain this from a psychological point of view. It's almost as though they look to these politicians as if they are their parents. They are there to supply them and nurture them, breastfeed them, clean their bums, and make sure life is great and hunky-dory. But no, every single person is an individual in their own right, and your job in life is just to make you and your family happy. Yeah, the politicians are important for administration, but the
system was created like that.
We give them too much importance. They're just normal people like you and me, and they do shit like everybody else.
Anybody in this life know that when it comes to politicians and my view of them, I am so with that where they are normal. Don't let me go down the gun road again for that normal thing. Yeah, Ronnie, what were you saying?
Okay, great. So I agree solely and wholly with what Ziza said. Now, Ziza, I don't know if you want to. I don't know if it's you who I met. I met a guy who worked in the hospital last year. In Bahopin, and he was like, he gone from next year, the new year. I don't know if it's you. If it's you, it's nice meeting you again. But anyway,
is that good looking fellow with a beard?
Indian kind of guy, yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah.
Really got to the point.
Anyway, don't know. So I was saying,
I find that laugh song blushy, blushy, boy.
yeah, they are blushing. Anyway, so this week, I was having that conversation with my coworker, right? And I was saying, you know, Tobago, the THA employs so much people. The government is not an employment agency, right?
Correct.
And that's exactly what the THA does. Employment is a political football in Tobago because it's like, who could employ more Tobagonians? It's not, well, who could help make Tobagonians more independent, or who could, yeah, because now I know some people feel that type of way about the tourism aspect, right? Fine, but there are businesses and there are opportunities outside of tourism. But even if the THA is not getting more flights into Tobago, they're not getting more tourists to come to Tobago, then the only thing that you can do is really employ the people, because it's our people who on the beach and thing and they selling their art and craft and stuff, and nobody can buy it. And even if I buy it, the money is not any new money coming into the economy. It's the same money that the government pay me, I pay them, and we circulate it back in the system, you understand? So there needs to be some fresh money coming into the country. One, to the government, Trinidad and Tobago need to move out of the employment agency and make way for private sector and entrepreneurship and the education system. So today, as in like right today, I got my co-worker to take her children out of school completely because it was just too much. The children bullying her daughters. It was because
You told her Mindful Education offers homeschooling services, right? Homeschooling happens to be our specialty. Just so you know, we over here at Mindful are full endorsers of homeschooling. I think this public education system is going to crash. I actually think that the universities are doomed also, but that's a whole other topic. But yeah.
That's true. But I would like to build on your point, Empress, about...
Oh jeez, Alia, I barely hearing Alia. The rain come down like... I thought rainy season ain't start yet. What is this?
I hear no rain. Honestly,
well,
kind of clear.
right, well,
Go ahead, I'm listening.
last one. When she called the Ministry of Education, because she spoke to the Division of Education and they were giving a real runaround and stuff. And I was like, what is the need for them to have your children in school so bad that they're willing to provide her with a nurse, right? Because one of her daughters was getting real sick. A nurse to stay with the daughter in school, instead of just allowing the woman to take her daughter out of school so she could not get sick so often. But anyway, when we called the Ministry of Education and they gave us, you know, all the details and whatever, and they were like, you know, a lot of people moving their children out of school, which I was very happy to hear. So thank you, Trinidad and Tobago, for doing that. And as you say, university, I don't know if you're aware, but Jordan Peterson is looking to open a university online. So that's where my children will be going.
All right, Positive. You are next. And then Mr. Mackenzie.
I would give Mackenzie leeway since I'm a regular contributor.
All right, Mr. Mackenzie, let me hear you.
Right after to reclaim my time.
Reclaim your time.
Well, I'm listening everybody. Everybody's on point, I must say. Right? But Tobago just need to really get... I think what's affecting Tobago is the tools and the environment, as Cesar said. Right? The tools, the environment they get they have at the moment is not, they did not, how to say, they're shuffling the same deck right through, and the tools not changing in order to get in with the times of proper governance, right? So that to govern themselves, mind you, I'm a Tobagonian, right? I just let you all know, right? I'm a Tobagonian, I'm working in Tobago, I'm also working in the THA, right? However, right, people come in with good intent, good intentions and everything, but the environment and the tools or the link with Trinidad, it really smothers them a lot, right? Of how you want to function or what you want to do. And as somebody rightfully said, the current administration, they are trying their best to, they're trying to show that color of Tobago where we should be able to handle our own and trying to exclude Trinidad up to a point and so on, right? However, pressure, all Trinidad do is just apply some pressure when they're ready to get THA in a line. And sometimes you have no choice but to revert.
So where do you see, where do you think, like you say the pressure? Could you name a time with, since this administration, this present THA administration, name a time where Trinidad applied pressure, and how did they apply that pressure?
The application of the pressure, it mostly it will be in the financial realm for in most cases, the financial realm, because as far as I see the administration doing, like employment, they will try to, we have lots of vacancies in within the THA, right? And
how much more people they're going to employ for it? It's unemployed, you know?
True, but there are lots of vacancies knocking about in the THA, and in order for the administration to run fully, I think most of the time and what Tobago needs is, if you see some of these departments fully staffed as they should be, I think they can do it, right? But the frustrations of some, you will hear directors or CEOs and so on complaining, right? Staffing, tools, resources, that kind of thing. It is a problem in Tobago, especially the resources.
Renis, just now, Aziza, Renis, if Tobago employs more people, you do understand that you have to pay the people you employ. Where are they going to get the revenue to pay these people? Bear in mind, the way the private sector model works is, all right, I'm a contractor, I'm a teacher, I could hire more teachers. If I get more students who pay me more money, I make more money and I can pay more teachers as I hire them. The THA isn't making any more money. Are the people that they're going to hire bringing more? Are they going to bring in more revenue? How are they going to pay these more people that they hire? Now, to me, when people talk about the government needs more people to be hired, the government can hire an infinite number of people because there are infinite needs that the government could say they want to meet. So there would always be vacancies within the government. You could always hire somebody else. When would be the limit? I think
100%.
My personal view is I think the THA should fire 3/4 of their staff and let them go into the private sector, figure out entrepreneurial avenues so they could fit into a niche economic ecosystem. The problem is Tobago doesn't have the economic ecosystem. If some of you who did basic biology was my specialty in teaching, that's my pet subject. If you did basic biology and you know the food chain and the food webs and you're looking for that complex ecosystem, one animal eats one animal which eats one animal. What Tobago needs more of, this is from an outsider looking in, listening to some Tobagonians say some of the problems Tobago faces. What it seems like Tobago needs more of is they need more animals in the economic ecosystem, because you need to be able to sell to somebody as well as you need to be able to buy from somebody. You need more people to sell from and more people to buy from. The problem is every time the THA takes people out of that and employs them in government services, they take people out of that ecosystem. So now that person no longer has to find an entrepreneurial niche inside of the ecosystem to supply something someone needs and to buy something from someone. They don't need that anymore, and that is why I think Tobago keeps being hamstrung. The THA employs too many people. It's probably difficult to open a big business in Tobago and get enough employees. They may be all be THA employees already.
So I would like to propose an idea.
Positive. Just now, I know Positive was waiting for a while. Positive, you have something to say there?
Yeah, man. It have plenty things passing.
Go ahead, Positive. Go ahead.
I begin to feel like if we're going around in circles when we're discussing some of these issues. Because I think last week, if I remember, we went into this in detail. We look at different ideas and initiatives that we believe could have driven the private sector in Tobago. But I think the problem we're having now is give us some free rein to look for some of these outside investments. Give us room to create that kind of space. Because in order for us to grow and expand, we had to get room to do it. I remember we were going into detail in terms of import and export last week. We were discussing the fact that Study Park Quarry has to sell its material to Trinidadian company and have that Trinidadian company export our aggregate to Grenada or wherever. And the company is not as a pass-through or a transshipment company, but they will literally buy the material from Tobago and sell it on the international market.
And Positive,
there was a number of
you're continuing. I'm just commenting on that piece. I fully agree. And this, again, to highlight some of the problems I have with the politicians, similar to the curriculum, I think these are the things that need the maximum political focus. As you rightfully did give the Chief Secretary props for, and that wasn't all on him. My problem with him in the initial, and I voiced this problem, I said that I found how he voiced his issue wasn't for someone in his position. He sounded like a regular man on the street, while he is not a regular man on the street. He is the representative, act like the representative, but nonetheless, he did bring it to the fore, and that's what I think politicians are there for. You are there for legislative issues, or in the THA's position, for administrative and policy issues. Well, then, that should be a focus. Go ahead, I'm listening for the food on.
I think when it comes to that, that is some of the issues that we have. But getting back to the meat of the main key in the discussion we're having tonight, as it pertains to the THA Act itself and the regulations and so on, I have also said to this, I think the central government has to take a lot of blame for what happens in Tobago, because the oil comes, Empress, respect, much love.
No, sorry, Mama, should have been
and I want to say it, because the oil crumbs was big money in them days. When Trinidad was exporting oil and gas to the US, all the money was nice. So they used to send all the oil crumbs money to Tobago instead of saying, you know what, all the hold on to whatever I have. If I have an emergency, we would rescue. Or in a squeeze, no problem. We have the HSF fund or whatever in place. But they begin to send all the nice money and create a lazy culture on the island. And this is what we're dealing with for today.
I don't disagree, Positive. So, Positive, I don't disagree with what you're saying there, but what was the alternative? Could you imagine if Trinidad and Tobago as a republic was making bumper crop money and Tobago, they squeezing back on Tobago, somebody would have protests. I don't disagree, but this is the problem. This is the problem with a democratic system. A democratic system when you have to follow what the people want.
I am not saying stuff for the island, you know. I want you to understand me. But what I'm saying is, if you have a good economic system running, leave this system. You don't trouble something not going good.
I don't, Positive. I'm not talking about suffering. I understand what you're saying. And I'm not talking about suffering the island either. But you have to understand, people like to get things. And that's the problem with democracies. Exactly, and who you're going to blame for that? You can't. I understand why you blame the central government, and I agree it's the central government's fault too. But the central government did that because they knew it would curry favor with people, and it probably did. Wasn't Tobago a P&M stronghold for a very long time?
Yeah, please everybody. When you become a leader, one of the leadership principles I've learned from being observant and looking around, sometimes you have to mash some people's seed in order to plant it. You have to mash some corn. And even in this case, I believe the chief made a very strategic move by using the word dam. I don't think it was a mistake. He knew the media would have run behind it. He knew people would have taken up that story. I think, in my view, it was a strategic move to create this type of conversations.
Where I criticized him wasn't the dam, you know. I was talking about when he spoke to about the licensing officers. That was, to me, the back and forth with the Prime Minister using dam, that's within Dr. Rowley's sphere. That's how they talk. That I have no...
No, but I was saying, because my view is, last week was a very good week for Tobagonians, because we got, I shouldn't say a lot, but a good bit of the population to actually say, you know what, let's go and read to see what's happening. Because I can assure you, and I could be very honest and very plain, they are progressive thinking Tobagonians. But if you have a lazy public service, you have public servants that are customary curry favor culture. You now come to this proper curry favor culture, and they're going to kick back against you.
I agree.
They are going to do it. And I think I have shared on this live personal my experience with the whole airport relocation process. And aviation is my course of study. Aviation is where my passion and where my heart is. But based on the way the process happened, how am I now to genuinely feel comfortable knowing that my family or my heritage or my area was abused for it? Knowing that so many of my elders died because of the tribulations. We haven't seen the minister of Works and Transport appear. We haven't seen almost nobody from the administration in Trinidad at least coming and having a conversation to have an idea. You secretly show up and drive through backwards. So when you see some of these things happening, it would mentally affect us. What I think people need to understand in terms of a lot of these matters, yes, you are looking in, but listen to me good, living the reality of this thing is totally different to reading news articles and being a part of it. Because Tobagonians are generally a very loving people, but it's based on your approach. If you come in very evasive and very aggressive and grabby, we're going to block you out. And if you get a piece of Obia. Oh, what I'm also saying as well too is a lot of our culture is not the best. Straight up, Tobagonians, we generally like this underhand pull string culture. That is not the best and not the most productive. But how are we to change our system? Because I can be the secretary and I said it already, and I could make an order, and if the administrator say I ain't doing nothing ain't going to happen. If the administrator send it down, excuse the juniors can say, you see what's going on right now, they're fighting me down here. Since this administration come, I can't get it, I can't get at them cut my money. So you know what? But me even fighting with a fling that paper in a corner. Can the secretary go to every single desk every morning and ask, how have your work been done? No.
But that is not what the administration, that is not what the secretary...
I mean, is there really that big that he can't do that?
Well, but that's not what the secretary is charged with doing. She gives, a secretary, would give, or would have a plan, right? And if you know your plan, you're supposed to have a timeline, which I think a lot of secretaries don't have. So if you have a timeline for your plan, you don't have to go every day to make sure. If you know that it's supposed to be executed by Friday, and Friday is not executed, then is when you ask, and we have to ask everybody, ask your heads, because then your heads have to come down on their juniors. And I understand what you're saying, like some administrators fighting against some of the administrators for whatever, some of the secretaries for whatever reason, right? But that's why they shuffle a lot of the administrators, right? So they're not comfortable in the position where they were all the time. I don't know if you have to know about that. Well, yes.
so like, just making a little reference to a particular sector, right? The health sector. If let's say like 75% of the population is already employed by the TA.
I see you, Ekrimak, just by the way, I see you. But 4 is as much that can be held up here. Go ahead.
So what I'm saying is, if let's say they privatize healthcare on the island, right? Completely privatized, right? Separate from the ministry. Oh, hear me out, hear me out. Everybody pays a small fee from their salary that they already being paid to pay for a private KJ. They would cut down. They would cut down on the waste that goes on there, the overemployment that goes on there, and they would improve the efficiency, and they would also be able to provide a product that would be sought out all through the English-speaking Caribbean easily, without even blinking twice.
Bro, you're not wrong, you know. You're not wrong, you know.
And I sat there and I worked it out, right? And in essence, the average fee that one person would have to pay is probably $150 a month, including dental and eye care for each person. And that's provided that they keep the infrastructure the way it is, and it will work like clockwork.
Sir,
You come in, you get your business.
you're not wrong, you know. You're not wrong. You're not wrong about your working and your maths and stuff, you know. But there's a reason. There's a reason it never works that way in real life. Because the day you can you imagine? Listen, A.N.R. Robinson. I feel I have to get a nice little portrait of him to put him somewhere inside of my studio. He might be one of the better leaders in Trinidad. I might rate him over Eric Williams. I have some bones to pick with Eric. I have some bones to pick with Eric. But anyway, he seemed to have understood that in the late 80s, and it got him a bullet. Yes, he was. Yes. I know. Positive. I know. Robbie was a Tobagonian. Big up Robbie. Big up the Tobagonian. Same way.
He did the most.
But Nathan, I would agree with these in terms of privatization of the healthcare system, because as those doctors or medicine practitioners who work in the public sector, there was nonsense in the public sector and refuse you to their private
Bro,
practice.
I agree.
This is what has been happening.
I agree, but people will want to hurt you.
I would just say that the private sector in Tobago isn't as good as the public sector, because it's the same people who run in the hospital, literally the same people running the same nonsense in their private whatever. What they do is they don't do anything. So what they do is they turn up for work, things are working, they write their little emails, and then they go back home, and then they shoot with their friends, and then they continue. A Trinidadian comes across, tells them, look, you're doing nonsense. Well, they need to get rid of that one. There's a problem worker. And then they go on, and I can tell you from my experience, it's not unique to many other people who have come to Tobago with the aim of helping and improving, and earnestly so, and then leave there with your tail between your legs because you can't do nothing.
But is it one of the highest paying RHs?
It is one of the most highest paying RHs. I mean, you make more money privately, right? Just saying, no? But the most important thing in life. Fulfillment in your job is also a very important thing. But if you work in a place where you don't have the tools to do what you could do, and all you could do is just sit and watch people suffer, who gonna say that?
No, but these are my challenge with your proposal is, and this is a whole national discussion that we also have to go into. Because if I'm already paying health surcharge on some of these things by law coming out, which is supposed to cover the national healthcare system, if that's the direction we are taking, then that money that usually comes out of a Tobagonian salary, we would need to now have to pull it and allow it to go into the private insurance healthcare companies.
I tell you one thing.
But if we do that now, we're going to have our colleagues going to kick brass against it.
So I can tell you what I did one time, right? I was working in Akuva Hospital at one point in time, and somebody did come to me and said, I pay my health surcharge, I need to be seen now. So I went to my pocket and I pulled out the $20 and say, here's your health surcharge, your refund. Go down there and see if you can see somebody for $20. No, it doesn't work like that. Health surcharge is just a name. It is like the green fund, but all the money just goes into one big lump.
Consolidated fund. Yes.
Correct?
Trinidad. That's why.
The same thing. Health insurance.
Yeah.
Health insurance is something completely completely different. It's a different entity. And I tell you, Tobago is ripe for that. It's perfect for it. It's a perfect economy. It's almost like a communist state anyway. So it will all work together for everybody. Right? And the thing is, you don't have to go too far. You don't have to go too far. Everything is already set up for it. Yeah, I mean, even the new hospital in Roxborough to treat the 3 people who live there is more than adequate. You can make this thing work and be the health tourism hub of the Caribbean. You know.
Yeah, easy. I agree. It's not a difficult thing to do, but I think the most difficult thing in that wouldn't even be the politicians. I think the most difficult thing in that would be the Tobagonians some Tobagonians that think they are owed a job and they are owed free health care.
Having to interact with all these people in Tobago, they know it, and I tell you, I think about these people almost on a daily basis, the people I had to leave behind there. And I tell you, if they had the opportunity, I remember one time I'm sitting in that clinic, right? A lady has a problem, and she's been coming to the clinic for a year. And I looked at the issue, I saw the problem, I told her, okay, you need to go this place, and I made a call. I got my friends down in Trinidad to see her the next week. I said, well, you know, you're coming to the clinic week after week, and you have this problem. How come you didn't think something else was going on? You didn't think you could have see somebody private. You could have do something else. What you could have do? And she said something that really hurt me in my heart. Doc, this is all we have here, you know. This is it. I tell you,
that's depressing.
One thing. I feel it for that lady. I tell you, I went in the washroom and I busted a few tears there. The lady was telling me the truth. What else? Nothing else except this piece of.
And you know what's why that would be so frustrating? Like, I mean, there's reality where, okay, if you don't have the resources and you're sick, that's just reality. It's sad, but it's reality. What you're going to do, you just don't have the resources. But that's not even the case. The TRHA has enough resources to properly work that system. So the resources are there. Somebody who is a Tobagonian, not even a trainee who come in and treating the Tobagonians bad. Some Tobagonian sitting down and sucking up the resources and twiddling their thumbs and have their own tanties suffering because of it.
Yeah,
but the thing about it is, as positive as asking is it better in Trinidad? The thing is, if I go to Mount Hope Hospital and I am totally fed up, I go to St. Clair or I go to
but Mount Hope isn't that bad of late, you know. I
know anything about Mount Hope. I never go to public.
I have been to Mount Hope recent. I spent quite a bit of time in Mount Hope recently, and they were not that bad. Honestly, they were not that bad. I cannot say that in with a clear conscience.
What I'm trying to say is, at least you have the option of a private hospital, right? And so when you have that private hospital,
question. So are we saying that the THA should establish a private hospital in Tobago?
No,
the THA can't do that.
Private? What does the word private mean?
Well, the difference is, right, is the approach, right? Public health and private health is two different things. You see, public health serves the whole community and treats everybody as a big group. It doesn't care about you as an individual. It cares about the whole group, right? But private healthcare focuses on you as an individual.
Very true.
It is directed for your needs, particularly your needs. As you come in, this is what you can afford, and you're going to get the best. Public cannot afford that. It is impossible to do that. Impossible. Because if it's a public hospital, you have to employ. It's like another URP kind of system. You have to hire this amount of nurses and this amount of this and that. You have to have some special person come and push you from the wheelchair, and the next person, the special person, to come and take you from that wheelchair. And if anybody else wants to interfere, that's a problem. And everybody had to come to work at whatever time, and everybody had to take lunch at a particular time. It's all nonsense. Private, none of that shippiness. You come, you get your.
Well, because you have when you're saying I see a business opportunity for you. I see a nice option to get your colleagues together. And I've been very honest. And you establish the most premier health tourism clinic on the island. Because I have a number of families into the healthcare. And what she did is she came here with the same proposals, previous administration, and almost the whole system fell. When I don't go to the hospital, I tell you straight up, I don't go, I just drink bush.
Wasn't
I don't give a shit, and drink bush.
Health secretary who opened up her own hospital down in somewhere down I don't know, Plymouth, Halifax, some area down there.
I wish not to comment on such.
How was that different? She was there for years and doing that.
But that wasn't the doubt though. Was that the same secretary that was exposing people medical files in the Tobago House of Assembly that are sitting?
Same one. But
the same one? Okay. No, but what I'm saying.
But even she couldn't attract people to come and work in her place. Because the issue is, right? Remuneration. If you want a specialist to come all the way to Bago, then you need to have that base. You need to have that financial strength to get that thing going. But you can't tell let's say a doctor, well, I'm gonna pay you $10,000 more than what you're making in Trinidad, and you come here and sit down here and use our halfway equipment and use our halfway staff and use our halfway nonsense and then just sit down here and smile. Nobody wants to do that.
Yeah, but that's not a quick fix. And these are the only things that we keep telling Nathan, these are not a quick fix.
But you see, the difficulty with that, long-term fixes, and this is where public actually comes in handy. Long-term fixes are things that public would do. You don't ask a private company, generally speaking, to invest 15 years and then they will see their profit. Private people aren't going to do that. Especially if you're talking about a private hospital, that has to be a humongous private hospital to be willing to invest and wait 15 years for a return like that.
Well, to be honest, it wouldn't. I mean, I'm just saying from a like a infrastructural point of view. The most expensive things for a hospital is the infrastructure. The second most expensive things are the salaries, and after that is everything is falls into place. But the thing is, once you've everybody and you've collated all that that money on the island, and you'd say to, let's say, Dominic or St. Lucia, look, we're going to provide all your surgical services right here, or all your this and that, whatever. You don't have to invest in your healthcare. You just pay us. We'll sort it out for you. You already have a market. You already have everything that will work. I mean, we're an English-speaking country. We will be able to attract plastic surgeons. We could do so many different things. All you just need to do is just to get it started. And the thing is, most Tobagonians would love having to go to a place where, you have that sort of one-on-one service. I mean, they already have that one-on-one service where they call their friend and get them pushed through accident and emergency and wherever. It's basically the same thing, right? Except you don't have to call anybody.
But you feel Tobagonians in general will pay for private healthcare? Do you think?
Well, the truth is that they would be paying it because it's coming out of their salary. It's coming straight out of their salary.
Yes, they would. Once the service is good.
Yeah, once the service
is good. And the 75% done already getting paid under the THA, so that done 75%
exactly.
The population.
Exactly.
They get any money from.
Yeah. So you literally have to change nothing. You change nothing except the semantics, where the money going, how it coming. You just changing the whole channels. Instead of it coming from main government, it's coming straight from the salaries of the people. You employ with THA, this is part of your health program. It goes right here. End of story.
I agree. I like that idea, but I don't think the government would go for it. What is that, Ronnie?
To answer positive relation about these are long-term fix and whatever. Fixing an ultrasound machine is not a long-term fix. Fixing a CAT scan machine is not a long-term fix.
MRI.
Nothing in the MRI or whatever. Nothing.
You know why that MRI machine stopped working? I can tell you why that MRI machine stopped working. Because when they shut down for COVID, they forgot the guy that was employed to go in and put in the plug to put on the fan to cool it down. They told him nobody to come to work, so he didn't come to work. So he wasn't there to put on the plug to keep the machine cool. So it's gone. $1.5 million later, they couldn't fix it. So now they don't.
But Caesar, you know what I find ironic about this? I was a some student employed at TRHA when that whole lab was built and was set up. I got the opportunity to go into some of these rooms. I was attached to the ICT unit at the point in time. I got the opportunity to go into that room and to see some of these equipment prior. And I was shocked when I heard the outcome of it.
Equipment and the curriculum right there. You know what they're doing? It's that storeroom right now. Storeroom.
Because if you have to see any doctor about anything, all they're doing is writing you. And you know the hurtful thing is, when you have children, right?
Oh, God,
who need, when you have children in clinic who need to see, well, not to get particular things done, right? And I'm still going back to the machines that done all of them. And then you send them to Trinidad. You make them pay. The only thing you're paying for is the trip to Trinidad. You're making them pay over $3,000 and thing for some of these tests to be done on machines that you had, that you did not take care of. And people must, out of pocket, come up with $3,000 to do tests for their children. That is not...
Listen, do you know that Tobago only has one working ambulance?
No, I did not know that.
That is not true. That is not true.
They have two.
It's two now, because the last time I heard the news up to tonight that there was one.
But Tobago has some. Listen, I did some work not too long ago in Tobago in the hospitals on their oxygen tanks, on their oxygen. Basically, Tobago has oxygen production facilities in their hospitals. I went in there and I'm like, wow. These hospitals are outfitted to the hilt. I was very impressed with that. I was very impressed. The kind of resources that Tobago has in their hospital, that is extremely impressive. And to think that they aren't maintaining those resources.
No, they aren't.
They're not. There's a particular type of machine there called the laparoscopic tower to do laparoscopic surgeries, right?
Mm-hmm.
One of my friends who worked there, I'm going to go further than that. They couldn't do laparoscopic surgery on patients after 6 because the nurse say they can't do it. You think you could do that? You think you could justify spending millions of dollars on this piece of equipment and nurse tells the surgeon, no, we can't. What? But that's what's happened. That's what's happened.
Boy, it's more of the people and more of the problem than anything else.
They have equipment packed up there in a storeroom there, boy. I tell you, I go in there wall to wall. Equipment, state art. And not a single person know how to ask any of them things. They didn't even realize.
And they don't want to tell me because
expired.
Was that positive?
no, but I have a next question I would ask you too.
Yeah.
I just want to be devil's advocate here again. And I like me to come back up.
All right, for those of you looking at this over on Instagram or on YouTube, my battery just died over there on TikTok. So I will bid you all good night. I hope you're educated, informed, or entertained. And I will see you guys in the next live, which is going to be tomorrow evening for the Thursday evening talks. Until then, folks, peace. Laters.